Welcome, everybody. So I'm Dr. Clay Dipperl. I'm the co-founder and co-director for the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship at Ole Miss. And it's great to see a good crowd here today. And one of the things that we're going to do is this panel up here is so impressive because it cuts across. Most of these fine people are not from Ole Miss, which is just pretty amazing in the first part. But we've got a couple of state people, we've got MilSaps. And it's just so great to have this group because what we're talking about today are Mississippi family businesses and growing them to be more competitive and more successful, and also being able to pass it down to the next generation. And as you can tell though, each one of these will represent a family business, and I'll just go down the row here real quickly. So Monica Hergel, Monica, hello. She is the co-founder of the Sunray Companies, established in 1996 by Monica and her husband Ray Hergel. It's a comprehensive organization specializing in hospitality, retail, and real estate development. And she graduated from MilSaps College, attained a bachelor's degree in chemistry, which is still paying off for you?
Yes, problem solving every day.
Excellent for that. Monica was named to the 50 leading businesswomen in 2003, in the top 40 under 40 in 2024 by the Mississippi Business Journal. So we're very pleased to welcome Monica Hergel. Next is Amy Walker. Amy is also our co-chair for our executive committee, along with Liza Lucer, and she has been tremendous in organizing us and getting us focused as a group to do some really cool stuff that we'll talk about here shortly. Amy is the area sales manager for Ergon Asphalt, as well sitting on the board for Ergon. She spent more than 18 years at Ergon. Serves as the chair of the Mississippi Skills Foundation and the president of the Flowood Chamber of Commerce. She's also on advisory boards for Regions Bank and the Mississippi State School of Business Marketing Council. Thank you so much, Amy, for being here. Next, I'm joined by Wesley Goings, chairman and president of Telepax, and also with working with C-Spire. Wesley has served as the chairman and president for a number of years, based in Richmond, Mississippi, since 2012. Wesley began his career with Telepax in 1996, serving in numerous roles. He has also been very instrumental in terms of working and figuring out governance, and he has been also a tremendous driver here, and we'll get into that too. But he's married to Dolly Creekmore Goings and resides here in Jackson, and also need to give a shout out for Birmingham Southern grad there too. Yes, please. And last and definitely not least is Lex Taylor, CEO of the Taylor Group of companies. Lex was born in Louisville, Mississippi. He is married to Margaret Dodd Taylor of Fort Walton. They have 2 daughters and 1 son. Lex joined the family-owned business Taylor Machine Works at the age of 15. I'm sure you were doing it way before then, I'm guessing. Exactly. He earned a Bachelor of Science degree in General Business from Mississippi State University in 1977. He works as assistant coordinator and assistant president to manufacturing. And then in 1982, he was promoted to vice president and general manager. Elected to the board of directors in 1981. Lex was named chairman of the board in July 2008. Under his leadership, Taylor Machine Works has followed a course of diversification, resulting in the formation of the Taylor Group. So actually, we'll go ahead and start with Lex on that. Please give a hand for Lex, too. And Lex, tell us a little bit about just your experiences with family businesses and how that's influenced with the company and Taylor Machinery.
Thank you, Dr. General. I've known family business all my life. That's all we are. Started my grandfather in 1927, and now we'll be celebrating our 97th year. We're heading headlong into 100th year as a private industry in the state of Mississippi. That's something we are real excited about, and quite an accomplishment in a private-owned business. That it's rare, and I don't mean to say that as braggadocio. It is rare, and so that's quite an accomplishment. To the extent of being family-owned, I worked. I tell you, I worked in 1982. My entire year for my dad, being the liaison to do my best to sell that business. Thank God I'm the worst salesman in the world. it was tough times. I don't know if none of you are old enough in here to know what 82 was like, the recession of 82. But we took it upon ourselves to self-liquidate on our own rather than somebody do it. And that does put the hardening at the head of the tip of a spear. I'm telling you right there, it gets you close. From over 1,000 employees at the time and 6 operations down to 1 operation and less than 250 people. That really wakes you up. Well, it gave me the education and the culture of what it takes to be a family business and what it takes to take the hard times, and particularly when it gets into the great times, how to keep that sharp edge efficiency. I've told many of our team, and they look at me with, it's profitability breeds inefficiency. Now just think about that in your respective business. Oh, we can do that, we'll spend it here, we've got money, the cash flow's coming in, we'll just go ahead and make that decision to spend here or do something because you can. My challenge to any private small industry here is operate as if you are on a shoestring every day. Manage the cash. I don't have to tell anybody that's no big secret. But when you're in a private business, cash is tough anyway, trying to find a bank that'll finance you and understand your dream. But thank goodness and the grace of God, we've had good banking that has gone through these hard years and, of course, the good years, thank goodness, to help our business along and stay private. My urge to you all is if you're in your business, and there's going to be those sleepless nights, those 2 in the morning wake-ups, it's going to happen. Stay focused to it, depend on your people. Hopefully you've got some family members within the business that you can depend on that are great for you, great performers too. But get some outside counsel, get some outside support, and I'm hoping that's what this organization can do for you at Ole Miss, is give you a resource, an affordable resource, to go seek out that support before you spend a lot of money. Financials, accounting, estate planning, all the other aspects of the business. Maybe you can find a good resource to go to first.
And to that point, I should pass it over to Amy real quickly. So Amy, because which generation are you now in Ergon?
I'm the third.
Third generation in Ergon. Talk a little bit about the family values over time, because you have a really unique story also, when how it started and where you are today.
So we were started actually on May the 1st will be our 75th anniversary. 70th anniversary. My grandfather was an orphan, and he was adopted by a family. Didn't really have much. Started with a truck and 2 employees, and grew to what we are now. We have over 3,500 employees, and so we're all over the world. But it's really kind of neat. It was him, and he died about 4 or 5 years ago. And then he had 4 sons, and then there are 10 of us in the 3rd generation and 19 in the 4th generation. So it's interesting, transitioning. That's why I kind of got connected with Clay, is we went up to Kellogg and did some transition planning, and it was extremely expensive. But it was definitely needed. And Clay and I talked one time. I had to get past the part that he was from Ole Miss, because being a state fan, it's not really what I was supposed to do, but it's worked out great. But the thing that we learned through that is when you transition, if you don't start planning before you're there, it's almost too late. And that's actually where I met Wesley, was at Kellogg, and we learned a lot. We started a lot of governance. We had a family employment document and some governance, family assembly, family council, because if you don't keep the family engaged, whether they're in the business or not, people are going to be wanting to sell their part of the business. So in my generation, there are 5 that work in the company and 5 that don't. And of the 5 that don't, most of them, if not all of them, are pretty active. I mean, come to our company picnics, our Christmas lunches. If we go volunteer somewhere with one of our divisions, they try to come. So the biggest part is taking care of your employees, but also keeping the family engaged as you transition.
Excellent. And pass this over to Wesley now, since Amy called you out there, which I always appreciate that.
My involvement in a family business was really because I married into it. And I laugh sometimes. I went to this Kellogg program where Amy went a number of years ago and learned about, again, family governance. And instead of in-law, they called the ones that marry into a family married in. And it's just as easy to be married out as married in. It takes a lot of work to work at that. Our family story, the Creekmore family acquired some telephone companies in the late 1950s, and the first generation operated with his 2 brothers, Wade and Jimmy Creekmore, who are now in their late 80s and early 90s. And they were attorneys and practiced law for 30 years while they also operated these small little telephone companies. And it wasn't easy work. And it took a lot of effort to continue those telephone companies. And then we're fortunate to be able to take advantage of getting into the cellular or wireless business in the late 1980s. And the Creekmores, the second generations we call it, Wade and Jimmy have 5 children, and they in turn had 13 grandchildren. And most of the 3rd generation was in college or right out of college when C-Spire, formerly Cellular South, started growing as a cellular company. And so Humina, who was my cousin-in-law, got involved in 1988. He's a son-in-law also, early into this. And he actually had the opportunity to work with his wife's grandfather, 1st generation, 2nd generation, and he was 3rd generation. I got involved in 1996. And where we are today, though, is we have 9 in the 3rd generation, and we have, I need my cheat sheet here, but we have 16 in the, including married-ins, in the 4th generation. And we're happy to say that we have 5 that are currently working out of that generation in our business. And then there are a couple of, I think there are 3 5th generation young ones. And yeah, that's at a high level how we're structured today.
And before we go over to Monica, I do have one more follow-up question to Wesley, because Wesley, I know you do a lot with the governance, especially from a family perspective. Could you talk a little bit about the difference between, first of all, what is the governance? How does it relate to the family, and that interacts between family and the business?
Well, it really means everything. For so many years, we really just operated as shareholders, owners, management, and because we were involved in running the business, and board. And it was just one large circle of, we all made the decisions together. And as we've grown to the size that we are today in multiple states, and we do have, we're fortunate that we're privately held and we're able to take advantage of bank debt. And we really have a plan and goal of remaining private as long as we possibly can, which over multiple additional generations. And that's a lofty goal, but that's what we plan on doing, and that's what we make our plans based upon. We've structured, with help of going to Kellogg figured out that that's really not the most sustainable as you grow, to have the patriarchs or the oldest generation and the management and board making all the same decisions. It's best practices to delineate those three, and we've been able to explain that for the most part. I'm very confident that we've done a fairly good job of explaining how that works within our family, and we have 35 family members now, and we've worked really hard to try to allow them to understand the differences of how each one of those three circles work. I don't know if that answers your question.
It does. So the three circles are family, management, and ownership, and how they overlap with each other in terms of each is their own, without getting too technical, each is their own system, because I'm a professor, each is their own system, and those subsystems right there for that. Very cool. Excellent. Monica, I'm coming to you because I find your story to be incredibly interesting. So you grew up in a family business, and then you started a family business.
Yes. So
Can you talk a little bit about starting that family business and what it was like to grow up? And because I know a lot of people do not envy the idea of working with their spouse. So
I grew up in a family business and did that for a very long time. And then my father helped us start our own business in '96. And I worked a little bit with both for a long time. And then now my husband and I work together and are creating a family business. And we have the most fun together every day. And growing up in a family business, I think, you know, you get these summer internships or these year-long internships. That's a lifelong internship. You, from the day you come into the world till forever, I think, you're an intern learning something every single day. So it's a blessing.
excellent. And by the way, that's the same story she gave me earlier, that her and Ray had a lot of fun. So I think that's well done there, well done. Amy, circling back to you, because you're in a unique position now too, because you have the older generation, your father, for instance, who you work with, and you were on one of our podcasts, family-owned podcasts we do with Mississippi Public Broadcasting, and you were, there was a little tension on occasion there, and also a lot of humor. With that being said, though, you also have the other generation working, that's the younger generation. Can you talk about some of those, just how do you do it?
Sometimes I wonder how I do it, but I'm sure they wonder sometimes how they do it too. But yeah, like I said earlier, some of the transitions that go on can be stressful, and you kind of wonder when you're in it what you're going to get out of it. But you know, when you start transitioning, we've been lucky enough. When my grandfather, I don't even want to say stepped down, because he came to work on a Monday and died on a Thursday, so he never really stepped down. But we've learned a lot from him that are great, but we also learned a lot about the importance of transitioning a little bit sooner, because he was 92 when he died, and he had passed some of the reins down. But I've been lucky enough that my dad I wouldn't say passed the reins down, because he still comes to work all the time, and I've got a few coworkers in here that can tell you he'll come sit in my office for an hour and talk about nothing, and people are like, are you actually working? But it's been very good, because if you transition at the right time, he was strategic in doing it, because he wanted to at least still be there to help guide if I had questions, and, you know, basically bounce things off of him. And so, but it can get a little bit stressful too when you, as they called it, I think at Kellogg, you're in the cousin consortium. Because, you know, you have uncles. I'm on the board with two of my uncles and one of my cousins, and then I have some cousins that work in our business. We're diverse enough that we're all in different areas, but you know, it's not like siblings. It's kind of, sometimes it's almost like a marriage. I wouldn't say it's not like an incest thing, but you know, it's more of, you know, you kind of fight like siblings, or sometimes maybe your spouse, and you quickly have to learn how to make up, especially in a family business, because you have 3,500 people that are depending on you and basically you getting along. So I don't know if that answered your question.
It does.
Or you were looking for me to go down some.
No, I don't want you to go down the rabbit hole, no. I think we're all good there. The one thing I'm always amazed is the fact that when I see the pictures of you doing your family retreats or whatever you want to call it, could you talk a little bit about that? Because you all look very happy. So you're either really good at acting or...
Well, I think in the beginning it was some of our cousins glad that we had a paid vacation to go somewhere. But when we went to Kellogg, that's when we started our family council and our family assembly. And so with our family assembly, most people would probably call that a family reunion. But we go far off somewhere, and then we go somewhere that's drivable, and then we do a giving back. So we bring Canopy in and do like a whole carnival kind of thing, riding horses, fishing, cotton candy, all that kind of stuff, which has been very important for the fourth generation to see the importance of serving in the community and not just giving of your money, but giving of your time also. But when we go off on our family assemblies, we usually have 2 half days of meetings. We have business leaders come in and brief the family on things going on in the business. And then we have an education part, whether it be financial management or some kind of education that applies to people in the business, but not always in the business, but outside the business too. And so, I mean, that's kind of what we do at our family assemblies. Now, we do try to do a team building. I think the first couple of years they played it safe and doing like golf and, you know, the spas and stuff. And then we kind of took it up a level and found an app where you could go on a scavenger hunt. So we did have to put a little liquid courage in the buses that were taking us, because there were some people that were like, scavenger hunt, I'm not 5. But it was real neat because you could take pictures in this app, and my dad took all the pictures and made a photo book of the whole thing. You had to go, I think, in a supermarket and kiss a lobster or something. And we're kind of a competitive family, so it was interesting to watch it all unfold.
Excellent. Let's put you on the spot here now. So last year we had a family business symposium at the Sheraton. It was last September, and it was a great event. And at that event, I had a chance to meet some of Lex's nephews and cousins, all these strapping young men. I thought, my gosh, they're big guys like me. So with that being said, how do you get them involved, that group, and what do you do, or how's your family take care of it?
Our business is not quite like Ergon's, and there were so many family businesses started off. As my grandfather, he had a son and 2 daughters. The son, my dad sort of led that leadership role, and his 2 sisters were very kind, and they had their own lives, and but they let Dad sort of run the show. He had 3, myself, a sister, and a younger brother. So we not had this growth in the leadership in the family. So to the extent of we could sort of drive the family relation. I mean, we would come home and it would be at dinner table kind of thing, rather than spread out. And I could see this very need that you guys and Wesley, you guys have done with entities like the Kellogg Group. We're getting now that way, as you mentioned, in our leadership within the family. We do have 5 young men, now that is my son, and then 4 of the nephews. One is a daughter, my daughter, and she's a first grade school teacher and loves to do that, and that's where she'll stay. She's the smartest one of them all, can run the company over all of them, quite frankly. But that's not her tone. So you've seen those guys you mentioned. That's what I'm doing now. I'm in that senior leadership role as the chair. My brother is our chief operating officer and president of the company. My sister in between, she runs all marketing, advertising, and that aspect for the business, doing a superior job there. So now we've got this growth within the family that we would like to see come on board and be leadership. And that's where I'm doing sort of self-governance classes. I'm taking them to our accountants to have, 101 accounting sessions. I mean, they're graduate universities, but it's not the real world. I mean, sorry. It's not the real world. And they're in it now, and there are real world things they need to learn. So my next session with them will be value of being an owner and the responsibility, ethics part, really big. We have a little over 1,600, 1,700 or so employees in our network, and that is a huge responsibility. They have got to see that family as fair, equitable, and long-term in their thinking, or they lose faith, they lose sight. They start looking elsewhere. We don't want to look elsewhere. We don't look to us. And so I'm trying to teach that ethics portion. They're all good guys. And to get the ground base of their exceptional responsibility by being stockholders, owners, and managers, how they have to be exemplary above and beyond for our team, our employee team, to see that continuity and that leadership. So yeah, that's what those guys are there for. They're coming to see what other people do. They're coming to network with everybody in public sector, private sector, business, stockholder, shareholder owned or privately held, and get to know them, network with them. And so, I encourage each and every one of you, if you've got a sibling or if you've got a child coming up of age, get them involved early. My dad drove me to every association meeting like this as a kid. You cannot imagine, but boy, now I see the benefit and the networking that was so beneficial to me and so good to our company, because those young people that I met then are old people like me now, and are running those industries, and whether it be a vendor or a customer, either side for us. It's been very, very helpful to me, and it will be helpful to you to get your kids involved, or a sibling involved more in your business. That's how you keep growing it out. But the governance is awfully important. We're just not big enough to have a family council. Our family council is our annual stockholder meeting. That's what ours is. And we work hard to make sure those young new stockholders, and they became young and new stockholders because of state planning, where the state taxes are ridiculous. They're double taxation. Don't let anybody tell you any difference. It's the wrong way to go in this country, but nevertheless, it is there. And so we're doing all right. My dad worked hard, and my grandfather built a dream and survived. My dad built a company from a regional to a national organization, a business that we became and proliferated our product line. My job as the third chair in the business over these 97 years is to grow on a worldwide basis and improve our governance, improve our philosophy of doing business, to give creditors, to give vendors, and certainly to give our customers confidence that we're a company they can depend on. And know that we'll be there for them. And so that's the kind of thing I'm doing to these young men. And they do look like a rugby team.
They do. They look like a football line or something. It's fantastic. And by the way, I will say you're doing good work with them because they're incredibly generous and very nice. Very genuinely. Monica, coming to you, because you're you and your husband, smaller family business, and you were telling me the story about your children and what they may or may not do, because you have some incredibly smart children that are presently not in the business. Did you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I came up a little bit like Lex in that I got dragged to everything under the sun from the time I was probably 15. And loved every minute of it. But in having started our own business and having come from a family business and gone directly into it right out of college with that chemistry degree, My husband and I did a lot of work about how we would like to see our kids. And they're both highly intelligent. So we have a doctor who is an ophthalmology resident in Oklahoma City right now, and a daughter who is finishing her tax LLM at NYU. So very, very proud of them. We started with them when they were about 21, doing family board meetings. We did a little work with John Davis in his institute at Harvard Business School and looked at his governance and the circles. He uses the same 3 circles. And looked at how we wanted to, one, create a business that could be run by others. And we have 600 employees today. So out of those 600, we have an executive team that could pretty much run the company if that's what we needed. But they will be owners one day. And so how do we involve them? They're obviously bright and have the ability. So with the family board meetings, we meet quarterly and started about 5 years ago. They're 26 now, reviewing financials, numbers, decisions, what happens next, strategy, and involving them in those big overall strategic business decisions where they understand that they can be business owners someday or stockholders and not have to operate the business. They can choose to, and that still remains to be seen. But the onus lies on them if they choose to, in that we have 600 families that depend on us, and that we need to continue to enhance their lives and grow them.
That's an excellent answer. Wesley, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, for many years, our family meeting was our shareholder meeting, or Christmas Eve, when the larger family all came together. And then over the last 4 years, we started a process to where we had family meetings with a consultant that really helped us do a couple of things. It allowed us to work really hard to create a value statement, a purpose, and goals for our family to allow us to continue to work together, but also grow for many, many years. And I'm just going to read, this is a lot of work. It took over 3 years to get this in place, but this is the Creekmore family values. We are a forward-looking family that is inspired by the values we have learned from our parents and grandparents. Together we prioritize and commit to pursuing integrity, wisdom, humility, and forgiveness, stewarding our legacy and respecting our family bonds, serving and advancing our communities, which is a really important part of what we're wanting to do and continue to do, and our businesses, and applying determined effort in the pursuit of goals. And then I'll just read you one of the bullets of our Creekmore family purpose is through private family ownership, remain private, support a forward-looking enterprise which positively impacts community through philanthropy and leadership for generations to come. And that's a lot of words, took a whole lot of effort to get there. It took input from all generations, including we heard voices from some of our younger generations, new spouses, and we have two son-in-laws that are in the younger generation working for us. And so it took years to come. I'll make one plug for really the Family Business Symposium, and why I was really glad when Amy called me several years ago and asked me to get involved, because we did have the opportunity to go to a program like Kellogg, and I think Kellogg and Harvard are the top 2 family business enterprise programs. Ole Miss is getting there one day, but not everybody can do that. Not every family business is the size that we are to be able to learn from those thought leaders that have written books and such. So having a program like this to where you can just come at whatever level your family business may be and just pick up a little bit of tidbit here and there, I think is a positive. And so that's, I'm plugging you, Clay, but that's my
thoughts. And thank you very much for throwing this in there too. And real quickly, I will say this about our universities here. So Mississippi State University has an amazing family business group also. They have tremendous researchers there. They have just done some really cutting edge research throughout. Ole Miss, we're relatively small in the family business area in terms of manpower per se, but we have, as we've talked about in the past, we are trying to cut across lines. So I have several colleagues from Mississippi State I work with also on this legacy leadership program. Because once again, we're trying to do what's best for the state. And now, before we open this up to questions, I do have actually a good question. I'm going to come back to Lex, because this is one of Lex's favorites there. So Lex, talk to us a little about what are some of the reasons for the success of the state of Mississippi that we have done, such as some of these tax deductions. At the same time, what kind of big threats do you see out there?
Yeah, I mean, the state of Mississippi is on the positive run. There's no question about it. I applaud the legislature, I applaud the governor, and what has transpired. We will soon have no personal state income tax. We have 100% bonus depreciation in our businesses for capital. 100%, it's better than the federal program now, which is diminishing. There's so many other, ad valorem taxes are reducing. It's all moving in the right direction to prosper growth or facilitate growth in industry and in our respective new industry and in our own respective businesses. So those are good things. We have great natural resources. We have a focus now, a real concerted focus on workforce training that is growing. It needs to continue to grow as we move in more industry. And so those horizons are great. The challenges to the state is a reputation. It's still out there. As good a progress as we have made, the word is not getting out enough. And I think we're in Mississippi in the area. There's Atlanta to our east, there's Dallas to our west. I'm just thinking the closer Nashville to our north, they are pulling our young people out like crazy. Now a lot are coming back. They see that right cost of living, those kind of things are hurting, even though they had a good job opportunities. They're coming back, but we need to continue to promote the reduction of the brain drain and get these young people back in. That's probably one of our biggest challenges we have to all of us, to certainly all of us that are in private industry, is to work hard to promote what we do and the resources we have here in the state of Mississippi. But the framework is in play. Certain from a tax standpoint, the workforce training is starting to gel and take place. Industries are taking a look at us because of it. And so I think all those things look good and positive for Mississippi industry and anybody interested in coming to Mississippi.
Brilliant. And Amy, I'm going to let you have one of the last words, and then I'm going to ask my colleagues Hughes Miller and JR, Dr. Love, to come up here and help me out on some Q&A stuff here. Amy, help us out here in terms of how our upcoming, it's all relative family business symposium, help make Mississippi family businesses more successful.
We know the figures, and I can't remember exactly what they were. Was it 89% of businesses in
90%.
Mississippi
90%.
are privately held businesses? And so, it's very important to keep these private businesses in Mississippi. I mean, we've seen, companies be bought out, and when they're bought out by somebody that's not here in Mississippi, most likely their headquarters are not staying here, which will not only affect the state, dollar-wise, but also affects your communities because the community impact is not still there. So it's very important to plug your business into the symposium because, trying to figure out, do I sell, do I not, you sometimes got to think through the impact it's going to have. It might help your pocketbook, but it could really hurt Mississippi. And if you're not planning for the future of, you know, your kids come up and then it's like, hey, what do we do now? It could be too late. And so, you know, really engaging not only with the symposium, but there are other things that we have rolling out. I think next week, there's a happy hour to come and.
Social in the SIP. You're going to be hosting it where? The Butler Snow, 4:30 to 5:30 next Thursday.
But, I mean, trying to find ways like that for families to come together. I mean, there's a family around here in Jackson that the daughter reached out to me and she said, I wish I had known about this sooner. I just had my first kid and I'm dealing with some of the challenges of how do you be a working mom and run a business and be a stockholder. And so it's really bringing community together within the privately held businesses. Because like I said, we've got to keep them here.
And you hit it on the head. We're trying to build community through there. So I'm going to open this up to questions, and I think JR is actually kind enough to walk around the mic. So any questions?
Good, we handled it.
Well, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Meredith Kitchings, the COO of the Children's Foundation of Mississippi, and we do a lot of research and a lot of work with workforce development, actually. It starts very young. And my question is, I think it was last year or year before at this meeting, we talked a lot about childcare and the impact of not having quality childcare or enough childcare in Mississippi affects the workforce. I wonder what your experience is with that.
If you're looking at me, I agree. There's women out there that, even in our company, that is a heavy metals manufacturer. It is not lightweight stuff. It's welding, it's machining, it's those kinds of things. Nothing that a woman can't do, but for there's a child or children that's got to be cared for. That's one thing we've got to look at and are looking at. How do we do that? On-site child care to promote that workforce pool. We don't have it yet. The liabilities are just astronomical. I applaud churches that are doing it and are going through with it, but that's not on-site. The child has to be somewhere away from the factory, business, and work, and doesn't have the chance to check in. Those are going to be things for us in the future that we have to look at to bring in a whole pool of workforce that, I mean, we're growing in it. We have quite, matter of fact, in a week we celebrate annually all our women in the workforce. Good. We've had to go to 3 new facilities just to have the growth room to have them all in. But that is often important. Child care at the point of employment is something I think we're going to see in America in the future. We've seen it now, I'm sure, but even in the private sector, we've got to see for competitive nature of finding that workforce.
Sorry to make you walk all the way back here. Hi, my name is Jordan Rogan. I'm with Cornerstone Government Affairs, but I've previously been an employee of a family-owned company, and I saw firsthand the effect that internal family disagreements on how the business is ran really affected the non-family employees, and also just the success of the business. So I would love to know how you guys handle family disagreements and family kind of drama to keep it from bleeding into the business.
You want me to take this one?
Oh, yeah.
I guess it was in 2018 when we formed our board. That was something that was real important, was to have some outside board members that could kind of maybe talk on the surface that wasn't all the family, that if a disagreement happened, you had something, you know, other people. Now, do we have disagreements? Yes, we do have disagreements. But I joke sometimes that maybe we should have a counselor on staff that we can, but it's always kind of getting back to the fact that, you know, everybody can't be related, and we've got to know that all these people are depending on us. So, you know, we're running our management, there's no family in upper management like our CEO or COO, but we all come to the office every day. And so still staying engaged to know what's going on, but not letting our differences get in the way of making sure we have other people planted throughout the business. The disagreement couldn't send us off target.
Yeah, I think so too. Having that independence on the board, at least, is a good balance. You don't have just a family saying, running, and there are disagreements that will take place. If you have not related, independent board members that each family on board person respects, then there's a balance there that arrogance sometimes gets in the way, and that arrogance can be smoothed out from an independent viewpoint at the board level. You know, it depends on the size. Some get so proud, and they're you know, the business could not run without them kind of concept. Those are the worst kind of situations happens in a private business. You can't get them off of that. They don't realize there was some initial resource that they had to set in place for them to be so successful. It's not just. So you have to have some of those heart-to-heart meetings sometime, but don't do it in front of the employee base. That is an absolute no-no. Don't have those arguments. Get behind those closed doors and have those kind of discussions. And at the end of the day, it may be a good, prospect for a buyout, and let them take that. Do it on their own. Find their own banking and other resources, and you solve it that way, and then move forward. Also,
Can you talk a little bit about non-family employees, how you handle them? I mean, and all the whole group, because I just find them, because non-family employees, the majority are usually the employees in each of your companies, so how do you get them involved?
I just say that will happen as your company grows. I mean, it ought to. You might even overcome oversight a sibling or oversight a child to get that non-family member in there in a leadership role, whether it be at line management or those things will happen, of course. The worst, all I can say is, I'm talking too long. Don't create a job within your respective businesses just because they're family. Do not do that. They have to prove themselves. Right off the bat, the employee base thinks, oh, well, they got it made. I bring a new one in, and I said, look, I'm expecting 110% from you, not 90%. You show up early before work, you leave late after work, and you give it all you can give. That's what's expected of you, not that you just give them a job. But that's you sort of set the tone for them. That's what we do.
Well, I do want to say too, when you're talking about disagreements, something that I think is usually looked over. We don't let, we call them outlaws. You call them in-laws, we call them outlaws. We have a policy that they can't work in the business. Everybody does stuff different. I think the biggest thing is making sure the outlaws, whether it's a man or woman, whatever, has the buy-in of the company. I think sometimes they're completely looked over, and those are the people that are going to advocate for you for your next generation or not. And so if they see the negatives of the business, or they feel like they're not brought in, not on decisions by far, but brought into not the meetings, but like family assembly things and things like that, then they could really defer other generations from coming here. So that's kind of another thing under the disagreements.
And I'll talk about non-family members, since we have more of those than we do family members by far. And so we've done two things. One is align everyone around the core values, and every decision we make, we go back to the core values and the mission statement. And they're not long, they're very simple, so that so it's not like we can't remember it, but everyone says, do we execute on these? And we start every meeting with that. So that's one thing. The second thing we've done in building that team is we hired an external consulting company to help us scale up, to help us grow the organization and to build that team. And so they come in and really drive more of that, their performance, and those guys being the key players versus Ray and I. And I think that's helped us a lot.
Okay, excellent. We have time for one last question, if anybody would like to ask it. Oh, yeah, sorry, back here. Sorry, JR, I'm making you, sorry. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Sharon Alexander with Tougaloo College. How do you go about recruiting students from college? 'Cause a lot of you all are right here in my back door in Madison, and I was just wondering, how do you go about recruiting students when they finish at the institution?
We start at about ninth grade. High school. Bringing them to the factory to tour, seeing these big machines that just awes these kids. Getting them interested in to go to four-year college or go to two-year trade certification kind of thing. But we start there. I think you said, internships. That's a great way for the college level, summer work, even whole year work, but summer work particularly, get them into an internship. Our management team gets to see the kids. They get to see us and see if they like this kind of work or the kind of industry. So internships is a big part of, and it's based on the economy. The economy's tight, not too many interns. We can't afford all the overhead, but it is a great way to get that college student involved. And I would encourage your career technical professionals in the college to focus on where they can find an internship, a job.
Thank you.
Go ahead, you got something?
We do internships also, but, workforce has been, I think as every business has had issues, a big thing. We even, branched out to the community college and started a riverboat school, I think with Hines. So trying to find creative ways to bring people in, not just with internship, but how do you work with the community?
And Sharon, I know anybody who's interested in hiring somebody can come see you right now, right here, because we do the same thing, right? We want to have our students get employed here in the great state of Mississippi. So, thank you. Also, I'd like to thank our panel for doing this today. Thank you very much. And we have more information up here if you would like to about the Legacy Leadership Program and the Family Business Symposium. And please join us in the social and the sip at Butler Snow on Thursday. Thank you.
Good job.